Robin recently got married and moved with her husband Carter in another city. She had been unable to find a new job for a long time. Her husband urged her to stay at home because he could support them both, but she considered herself a burden to him and set herself the goal of finding a job anyway. Carter was very reluctant to let his beloved go to work, but he accepted his wife's stubbornness and decided that he would not interfere. Luckily for Robin, she received a call from a large firm offering to come in for an interview. She was delighted and very nervous for the upcoming meeting. But it turned out that the job was far away from home and she had to get there by train. The girl sat down at the station and waited for her train. 10 minutes before her departure, a train arrived at the station. Robin thought that it was her departure, just the train arrived 10 minutes earlier, but then she saw the destination station Tade on the train and realized that it was a different train. She honestly couldn't recall a town with that name, but then again, she didn't have to know every town in the state. Surprisingly, the doors of the train didn't open and let anyone in. It immediately left the station without letting passengers in or out. Robin thought that was strange. It was surprising that the schedule didn't show any departures for that time. Maybe that was why the train didn't open its doors, simply because it wasn't on the schedule and no one had bought a ticket for it. Just a few minutes later her train pulled up. Robin's day was going great. She was hired and had to report for her internship tomorrow. The next morning she sat at the station and waited for her departure. About that time the very train that had so puzzled her yesterday pulled up. But this time it opened the doors, or rather just one door of one carriage, and just stood there. After a while she noticed a woman waddling very slowly toward the train. At first Robin wanted to jump up and warn the driver not to leave, but she noticed that the train was still waiting. As soon as the woman entered the carriage, the doors closed behind her and she left. The girl began to get the impression that the train was waiting for this particular woman. Once she was at her workplace, she was assigned as supervisor Layla. She was very friendly, helpful, and always patiently answered Robin's questions, even the dumbest ones. But then she noticed on Lila's desk a framed picture of a woman she had seen at the station today. She asked her new co-worker who it was. Lila's eyes drooped and could tell by her look that she was very upset. The girl replied that it was her mother who had died just the other day. The girl immediately decided to keep silent and not mention today's meeting so as not to hurt the girl more. Robin thought about it all day, all night long, but convinced herself that the woman looked just like Lila's mother. That was all. The next day came and Robin saw the train again. This time it opened the top of another car and again only one. But now she saw a Jack Russell dog running through the door. But what surprised the girl the most? That the train was waiting for this very dog, or that on the neck of this dog hung exactly the same collar as her parents' dog. While at work and sorting out documents, she got a call from her younger brother informing her that their dog Charlie had died recently. This made Robin very sad, because she loved that dog and enjoyed playing with him when she came to visit her parents. It went on like this for days. The train would come, open only one door, let only one person inside. There were, of course, times when the driver would open two doors for two people. When Robin decided to run into the train behind them for curiosity's sake, she immediately flew nose first into the door as they had closed just seconds before. Eventually Robin decided to calm down and leave the train alone. The girl was already having a bad day as Carter said he was leaving for work for a few days. She missed him a lot and couldn't find a place to be without him. A couple days went by. This time the girl ran to the station as she was running late, but she never made it to her departure and had to wait for the next one. It was surprising to see the same train arrive again, though usually it always came early. He opened the one door in the first carriage again and waited. The station was empty for a while, but then she saw a man walking quickly toward the carriage. It took her just a few minutes to recognize the man as her husband. She rushed toward the railroad car, shouting his name, but he didn't respond. When he stepped inside, the doors closed behind him and Robin didn't have time to say anything or stop him. She decided that she would definitely have a serious talk with her husband. All day long she had been tormented by the thought that he was deceiving her. But how could it be? They had just gotten married. When she returned home with a lousy mood, she tried to call Carter. She sat on the couch and watched TV. The news was on, again talking about politics, which didn't interest her in any way. But then she saw the news about the accident on the highway the day before yesterday. She recognized her husband's car. Out of fear she started calling her husband, but he still didn't pick up the phone. That's when she called the police and tried to find out the situation. They told her that no documents or phone was found on the man, so they couldn't call his family. They offered Robin to come to the identification. She agreed. Her heart was pounding and she couldn't believe it. She sincerely hoped that she would come tomorrow and realize that the dead man was not her husband. She thought about the fact that maybe her husband had hit a man and tried to escape into the woods, and now somewhere poor was walking through the woods trying to find his way. The next morning she walked to the station to reach the necessary morgue. And today too she saw the same train, and again only one door was open. But Robin didn't care about that. She just wanted to get to the morgue and realize that it wasn't her husband lying there. So she got up, turned and looked at the big station clock to check the time. But then she noticed that the glass of the clock reflected the train. She might not have noticed it if it hadn't been for one detail. The mirror was distorting the picture a little, and in the reflection in the station of the direction was written not Tade, but death.